All right, Garth, we have filled the room with appliance professionals, really the team where the rubber meets the road with appliances, and that would be delivery, install, and service. So my question to you for this audience is, what advice would you give these appliance pros who want to grow their influence inside the appliance showroom?
Yeah, so appliance professionals, honestly, I want to give a quick shout out to them because they are truly the ones that have the last touch in most cases with the client. And everything could go perfectly with the influencer, the designer, the architect. It could go great from the appliance selection side. The contractors built out the cabinets. All of this is done golden. It's perfect. And the client only has terrible things to say because that last touch with the professional handling the delivery, the install, and the service. And I've found in the years, 21 years in the industry, very seldom is it truly the installer, delivery, or service person's fault. They're just the ones left holding the bag from other people's mistakes. So I want to start by saying that that is a huge role. And just having a good impact in showroom floor, to go back to your question about the opportunity to grow, hopefully to build a larger book of business, especially on the delivery and install side. A lot of that obviously is driven by the dealer and the dealer salesperson. And for me, I know that the installers in particular that I am focused on working with and requesting are the ones that do the best job of communicating. And that's where I tend to see the biggest gap. I think we all have, everyone in the industry. And I will say that I hear the same thing from my installers. They're saying to me, Garth, we didn't have all the information that we needed. You didn't communicate the location of this particular appliance. We weren't aware. It's both sides, two-way channel. I will say that the communication side is always a win. When I know right away that an appliance being taken out of a box has a dent in it, when I know immediately that something is not going to fit because the contractor did not change the opening or didn't have something correct, knowing that information is key to making it successful. And in doing so, the dealer as a whole, so the management, and then also the dealer salespeople, just feeling like they can reach out to their installer. The installer or delivery person answers the phone, and there's a continuous two-way flow of communication. That's 100% where it comes down to who's going to get the biggest book of business, is just that level of communication.
So it's almost similar to when we were talking to the designers, the pre-sale influencers who, our audience wasn't here for, that the earlier the communication happens can often solve a lot of problems down the road, especially on the install side where, with a big project, a lot of appliances, a lot of opportunities for things to go wrong. The sooner that the salesperson is talking to the installer and vice versa, the more problems that can solve. I'm going to put you a little on the spot here. Can you give us an example of a time where a potential problem was averted as a result of some good communication?
Yeah, again, the communication is key in averting problems, and an installer or delivery person having knowledge for a solution is by far the most important. I just had a situation yesterday, to use just a recent example, where the installer went out to the job site to install some built-in refrigeration. There was a major snafu that our 6 feet of refrigeration, so two 36-inch columns, was misunderstood by the cabinet company. That instead of it being 6 feet, they had built the opening for 60 inches, which would be two 30-inch columns. And you can't squeeze 72 inches of refrigeration into a 60-inch hole. So the solution, though, that the installer made quickly on the spot was immediately first they had taken the measurement before the units were out of the box and starting to put them in. And it's pretty obvious when you're off by a foot, not so obvious when it's something that's off by a fraction of an inch. And we know in the installation side for the appliance world, that's all it could be. Well, this particular installer contacted me immediately. I was able to give them information on the fact that since the units were not taken out of the box, we're able to take the return with no restocking fee. I checked on 30-inch column availability. In this case, fortunately, they were immediately available. And by the time the installer spoke to both the contractor and the homeowner, he already had all the information from just about any potential question that either party could have. And so when they presented the problem, they already had a solution. And I think that is really the key. Sometimes the dealer salesperson is the person with the knowledge for what that solution is. Not always. Sometimes it's as simple as a installer being very familiar with the product line. So an example recently on that was having a gravity drain ice maker going out where it was not going to work and a pump was needed. The installer already knew that that particular manufacturer sold pumps as an additional accessory. So the customer was relieved to know that even though we had to find out what the lead time was going to be, that there was going to be a solution. They weren't going to have to wait for a new ice maker. And there was this step forward and how the problem was going to get solved. And I think that is truly the key. A lot of times, the installers and delivery people are not getting all the information. They're showing up to a fairly unknown job site, even if they've done a pre walk. Things are not the way they're supposed to be. And it's frustrating. And they're left holding the bag. They're the ones who are the face of all of us at that point. And as they're telling a client or even a contractor what's going on, it's just easy to give the bad news without the good and without the solution. And so I think that's really the key.
Huge, for sure, and in obviously many areas that not just saying what the problem is, but also giving what the solution is, and being proactive in these issues can be huge and hopefully solve a lot of problems.